Hello, everybody, and welcome to 5th Gen Isn't Pokemon, your premier outlet for anti-Unova propaganda, Survivor with anime characters in it for some fucking reason, and what you're probably here for, an obsessive amount of Pokemon Unite data, because I don't have a life, so I play Microsoft Excel instead. I'm Max, and today I'm joined by Clayton and Ton, if you guys would like to say hello.
Hello. My name is Clayton. I do panels with this man on a fairly regular basis. And can I just say, Max, that I am exceptionally happy still that Crustle is the only 5th gen abomination in Pokemon Unite, and I hope that never changes.
I really enjoy that the only Gen 5 in this game is one that I actually kind of like. It's like of 2 Gen 5 Pokemon, it's one that doesn't make me projectile vomit upon seeing it.
Be careful, man. You referred to them as Pokemon, and that is objectively false.
You're right. I'm sorry.
I'm delaying introducing Ton. I apologize.
Ton, you should say hello as the only one of us who's actually good at Pokemon Unite.
Hi, I'm Ton. I'm the only one who's masters twice, so my opinion matters.
I think that's how the game works. Once you're masters, your opinion matters.
I'm getting a master's degree soon, but that doesn't count for anything useful.
Wow, I don't have either of those things, so the fuck am I doing here?
You guys are spiritually masters in my book, so...
Thank you, I appreciate it.
If only we could win in games against them.
I also use choice specs on Blastoise, because I think it's funny, so...
Clayton, we are actually going to get into choice specs on Blastoise and all other Pokemon. In fact,
I'm happy to hear that.
Actually, that's what we're looking at right now. Now, this chart that you all have been looking at while we've been talking about nothing, it illustrates Pokemon and then item usage for those Pokemon. So what I did was at the end of Season 1, I did a poll on Reddit, and I asked everybody, what Pokemon do you play? What held items do you use on that Pokemon, and several other questions. But for the sake of most of this data, we're going to be focusing on the held items and the synergies there. So what we have here are the Pokemon that people mained throughout the first season and the percentage likelihood that that Pokemon was equipped with a certain item. So if in a quick cursory glance, I think what we're all going to realize is that everybody is running fucking Buddy Barrier, Focus Band, Muscle Band, and Score Shield.
That tracks.
Because,
I said that tracks. Those items are all really good.
Yeah.
They're also the most universal items that you can just slap on most things, and so it's good to upgrade them, and you actually use them.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I was going to say is they're not only good, but they're broadly good, right? Like, they're good on a large number.
Yes. Yes, there are items like Razor Claw and Scope Lens that are really good, but are very situational. And we'll kind of touch on the Pokemon that use those more as we kind of work our way through these rows and or columns, because I always forget which ones are rows and which ones are columns until I visualize a Roman Colosseum, Roman architecture in my head. That's the only way it works for me. I have to imagine a pantheon with
data science major here, everybody.
Yeah, I have a degree in statistics. I should know what fucking rows and columns are.
It's okay. I mean, I guess you kind of have to know what numbers are a little bit, but
No, it's a stats degree. I need to know how to lie to you.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Anyway, let's look at Absol first. Now, speaking of Razor Claw and Scope Lens, everybody who took this poll uses Razor Claw and Scope Lens on Absol.
I mean, that is not shocking in the least. You mentioned Razor Claw and Scope Lens are situational, and spoiler warning, it has to do with critical hits, right?
Yeah, why wouldn't you want to slap a Pikachu for 2,000 damage, right?
Put it in its fucking place, man. So, Absol, we had 3 Absol players, so this isn't saying a lot. But of those 3 Absol players, they all used Razor Claw, they all used Scope Lens. 2 of them used Score Shield, and 1 of them used Muscle Band. making Absol one of the very few Pokemon that did not see Buddy Barrier. And
actually makes sense.
Yeah, I mean,
all squishy as heck already.
Buddy Barrier is what you play when you're hanging out with people and have a party, and Absol's like the epitome of a loner Pokemon. So he doesn't have friends. He doesn't want a Buddy Barrier. He just the only reason he wants you close to him is so he can kill you, which is why he has Razor Claw, so he can proc a slow on your ass.
You also disappear during your ult, so you don't actually kind of need Buddy Barrier at all. So
yeah,
it's kind of like Night Stalker in Dota. You go out alone, you hunt down players, and you make them not alive anymore as often as you can.
Making opponents not alive is actually how most people play this game, I think.
Sure, but like there are different ways to do that, right? Mm-hmm. There's I join up with the party and make the party more efficient at making them not alive. And I try to pick off loners from the herd because I'm really good at 1v1 man fighting. Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay. So, one thing I should note before we continue, these item like occurrences aren't necessarily recommended builds. So when we say Absol players predominantly use Razor Claw, Scope Lens, and Score Shield, that is not us necessarily telling you run Razor Claw, Scope Lens, and Score Shield. I mean, if you're an Absol, I guess do it anyway, but this isn't like an endorsement of this is the optimized item setup. This is just the most expected item setup, the most used item setup.
Remember, I run choice specs on Blastoise, so I am not the authority to go to recommend item builds.
What rank are you again, Clayton?
I am expert rank 4, actually. So,
to be fair, I mean, outside of the context of Pokemon Unite, expert sounds pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, You know
your fundamentals. Most of the ranking up in the game is basically like just work. So
I know that top and bottom are different lanes, and that if there are two people that are going top, I shouldn't also go top.
That already makes you better than every Cinderace main. Congratulations.
You'd be amazed by this, but the number of like people in Ultra Masters who do some stupid shit like EXP share on Absol and go jungle is like unreal. It's like, how does this even happen? Unless you play like thousands of games.
Oh, don't worry. We it looks like we do have some weird EXP share uses that we can complain about as we go.
I'm not recommending EXP share. Please don't use it.
There are 26 Pokemon, so I think we should move past Absol to Blastoise, who I would like to note nobody runs choice specs on.
Because they're losers who aren't cool like me.
Clayton, why didn't you participate in my poll, you absolute piece of human filth?
When were you running this poll?
Like early November.
Oh. Then I don't have a good excuse. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention. That's my excuse.
So, the most common items for Blastoise users, 89% used Buddy Barrier, 67% used Focus Band, and 56% used Score Shield, which is basically the default loadout you're going to use for almost any Pokemon you play as. Buddy Barrier to make group fights good, Focus Band so you don't die like a bitch, and Score Shield so you can actually deposit those points to win the game.
Buddy Band Score Shield is like the tankiest combo, and Blastoise is probably in the running for being one of the tankiest Pokemon to exist, factoring his defenses. So yeah, your job is to like not die.
Yeah,
it is Tidehunter basically. You walk in, you ult to stun the whole team if ulting is reasonable, like on I almost said a Blastoise fight, Zapdos fight, and then you're not going to be doing most of the damage, but that's why you have like a Cinderace or whatever, right? So there you go.
It's funny because he used to do a lot of damage in an unfair way.
So a couple other things here. There was someone who plays Blastoise with Eos Cookie.
What does that even do?
It gives you HP every time you score.
Oh god, that's like the worst one of those. Unless I'm wrong about that.
We also have a scope lens Blastoise.
Nice.
And a weakness policy Blastoise.
At least a weakness policy gives you some number of HP. I don't even know if Blastoise is capable of critting.
So every Pokemon can crit on basic attacks. Okay. Blastoise just has a native 0% crit chance.
Okay.
So the cool thing about Blastoise is that when you evolve to your final form as Blastoise, your basic attacks are actually a split attack. So you do 50% damage twice. So it will proc twice.
Ooh.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually interesting.
It's really playable too because it has like 2 guns, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
That totally makes sense.
2 other things on Blastoise real quick. 19% of users did use Wise Glasses, and 30% used Muscle Band. So Blastoise definitely has a very heavy proclivity towards running Buddy Barrier. But to say the Buddy Band Score Shield setup is the predominant one, I would say isn't... It's not as obvious as like the Claw Lens Shield Absol.
Yeah. There's
a little maneuverability there. I mean, you have Clayton, who runs choice specs. What do you run again?
I run Buddy Barrier, Focus Band, choice specs.
Okay. Yeah.
On Blastoise.
Okay.
So I'm mostly a normie, but I run choice specs because it's fun to like get that big damage on Surf at the beginning of the game.
Mm-hmm.
It is not good end game. But I don't know. You know, you get those early kills, and it helps you win for the rest of the game, right?
Yeah.
Unless the rest
I'm not trashing Buddy Barrier or anything, but I do recommend it for most people, just because it gives you a native HP boost, and it's good for new people because they won't die as often. So,
And Andrew has joined us.
Bad. I can recommend
Well,
it.
yes, I have.
Hi, Andrew. So, Andrew, we've gone through a whole 2 Pokemon. Would you care to introduce yourself and how good you are at Pokemon Unite so people understand the expertise you are coming at us with?
All right. I'm Andrew. I'm in the beginner rank. Great, I think it is. I've probably played 30 games. I like Charizard. That's about all I know.
Andrew is the person here for us to explain things to.
Yeah.
But also, we love him very much, don't we, Andrew?
Thank you, Max.
You're welcome.
It'll be a Socratic dialogue.
Yeah.
This man gives panels with us, and he does a good job of it.
He also hates Gen 5.
Everyone should.
It's not Pokemon. It really isn't. It's fan fiction that Nintendo published in a hurry when the DS was on its last legs.
Let's move on to Blissey, which I think is going to be a short one. Blissey users, 100% Buddy Barrier, 100% Score Shield, and then they either run EXP Share or Focus Band.
That makes sense. That makes total sense to me.
Well, what's the benefit of the Focus Band here?
Focus Band keeps you alive. So, Andrew, the Focus Band gives you a base defense boost, and then when your HP gets low enough, it'll give you a quick health regen over a couple of seconds.
That does seem helpful.
So Blissey actually has the highest HP in the game, but she has like relatively lower defenses, and so the band helps with that.
Mm-hmm.
That makes a lot of sense.
Now,
I'm
an aggressive piece of shit, and when I play Blissey, I use Muscle Band.
Sorry. That's funny.
Gotta slap.
Because...
He slaps in lane.
Huh?
Blissey absolutely slaps in lane.
Oh yeah, Blissey fucking slaps. But because all of if you're dealing damage with Blissey with a move other than a basic attack, you've chosen the wrong moveset for Blissey. So with Muscle Band, it allows you to just really knock people down. And like if you're feeling super memey and you give Blissey like Wise Glasses and choice attack specs or something, you can get some serious damage on those slaps. But it's a dumb idea. Andrew, we're here at your boy Charizard.
Yeah.
So,
Best Pokemon.
because Ton and Andrew play Charizard a lot, so they're going to have opinions on this. The most used item on Charizard builds at 88%, is Muscle Band.
Yeah, that attack speed's really good.
After that,
It's not the attack speed, it's actually the proc.
Oh.
And also, who the hell are the other
'cause
percentage who aren't
percentage too,
in the
right?
88%?
yeah,
Yeah,
the-
it's one of the items that are basically mandatory on Charizard. So
yeah. Because, so Andrew, in case you are unaware, the attack speed boost from Muscle Band doesn't actually give you a percentage increase in attack speed, because in Pokemon Unite, attack speeds are kind of tiered. So some Pokemon actually never get an attack speed boost from the item, but they're still getting the base attack bonus and that damage chunking every time they hit an opponent, which is what you're using it for, is that damage chunk.
Yeah. Okay.
So Charizard seems to actually be really decentralized here in the held items people use it for. 88% use Muscle Band. But the next most frequent item is Scope Lens at only 50%. And then we see Score Shield and Buddy Barrier each at 38.
this poll is actually kind of shocking to me as a big time Charizard main who got to Masters twice with him. Especially
I like that you
Shell
just casually drop that as if it matters.
It's a travesty that some of these things are run.
I mean, hey, Andrew, who got to beginner with Charizard, also has opinions, and those are the same accomplishment.
A fucking leftover.
At least I didn't use Wisdom.
Oh, yeah, sorry. One of the fucking Charizards running leftovers. I would like to note, that person is unranked.
That tracks.
I literally went through to see where that fucking player was, because like, who is running leftovers on a Charizard? They are unranked.
I like how they're one of the only people to run leftovers too. Like, I see that there's a Snorlax that runs leftovers.
That person's like ultra.
I feel like that was just the person who caught the Snorlax recently and just forgot to remove the leftovers it was already holding.
I'm convinced that person's fucking with me.
Okay, fair enough.
So, Ton, what's your takeaway with like the items people are using on Charizard?
Well, they're wrong, and Reddit is wrong. So, well, that's redundant, but yeah.
What is the objectively right loadout for Charizard?
Okay, Muscle Band. So
Yes.
Charizard has a very unique auto attack, and it's because of the fact that it hits 4 times in one stroke. Because of that, Muscle Band actually will proc 4 times. That is actually insane. It's the most value you can possibly get out of Muscle Band on any Pokemon. The second item that you want to use is Scope Lens. You basically need to max that out. Because you have a stream of 4 independent attacks, each of them can actually proc. So each of them can actually crit. And that's actually one of the reasons why it's so important to run those 2 items on Charizard. I would go so far as to say they're basically mandatory. Your third item slot is actually kind of a flex item slot. I personally like running Buddy Barrier just because you're going to be in the fight and you actually need to, blast people. Energy Amplifier isn't actually that good of an item. It used to be, but it only lasts 4 seconds, and your ultimate lasts 7 seconds. So you only get 2 streams of attacks, 3 streams of attacks from it, and it's not really that worth it. So.
Okay. Yeah, but it's better on other Pokemon where the damage is more front-loaded.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
The other items on this list don't make any sense, especially fucking leftovers.
What about Shell Bell? I think Shell
Shell Bell.
Bell makes a lot of sense with Charizard.
It's funny because Shell Bell is actually one of my favorite items, but for the love of God, do not run on Charizard.
Okay. Cinderace.
Never played Cinderace once. I just know it's basically the same as Greninja.
No, that's insulting. Okay, so here's the thing, and we're not going to touch on this data in this recording, but Cinderace players are disproportionately worse than Greninja players.
Actually makes a lot of sense. I think most of the time, maybe not most, but like a shocking fraction of the time when somebody like derps their way into a lane that was already called as full during the character selection phase, it's a score bunny, and it just makes me sad when it happens.
Yeah, no, Cinderace players have dead even representation between top, center, and bottom lane, which is just absolutely insane. There's no reason that should be the case.
Yeah.
Anyway, Cinderace. 92% of Cinderace players run Muscle Band since he's basically an auto attacker. Good job. 77% run Scope Lens, and then after that it drops off, and 46% run Buddy Barrier. With notable standings also for Focus Band and Razor Claw.
I mean, the Buddy Barrier makes sense to me because he doesn't have the largest health pool, so that really probably helps with one-on-one duels.
Lowest health in the game.
Yeah.
Super Ninja, so you kind of need it. That's actually
I just know when I played him, I die a lot, so Buddy Barrier makes sense to me.
And real quick, before we start shitting on all of these options, I also need to note some of them run Float Stone and Shell Bell.
Is it at the same time, or just?
I would hope that's the same person.
Oh, God.
My mistake. Cinderace is like second to last in terms of HP. Greninja is slightly lower.
Yeah. Greninja just has better escape options and ability to kill you.
The thing that's surprising to me here is that we have a higher percentage of people using Razor Claw as opposed to Scope Lens. Oh wait, no. I got that. Sorry, I misread that. I saw the Score Shield percentage as a Scope Lens percentage. I was gonna say that implies people are running Razor Claw without running Scope Lens when Razor Claw makes less sense. But I'm just gonna go ahead and just ignore that and just say Razor Claw to me makes less sense just in general, unless you just really want that little bit of extra crit chance, because Cinderace doesn't even get the full benefit from that item because you only get the slow if you have a melee.
Yeah.
And Cinderace does not have one.
Yeah, it's so weird.
It doesn't surprise me that Cinderace players are greedy for damage, so
that's also
kind of plays into that.
I feel like there's a better way to get damage, because like Razor Claw gives you some crit rate, but not nearly as much as a Scope Lens does, right? Like the diminishing returns are real.
I mean, I would have to go into this, but and I didn't look at this yet, but I would assume most of the Razor Claw players are also running Scope Lens.
I would guess too, but I mean, it's a question of running choosing one item that gets you 6% crit rate versus two items that give you I don't even know what the max crit rate is on a Razor Claw. Is it like 2%?
Yeah, it's like 2-ish%.
So if it's 2%, that's like, it's the difference between getting a 6% crit rate with one item or an 8% with two, right? Like the diminishing returns are pretty big there, especially when there are a lot of other items you could pick that would give you more bang for your buck, right? It's an efficiency thing, I think.
Yeah. So that's Cinderace. Cramorant. 100% of Cramorant players run Buddy Barrier. And then it falls apart. 50% run Wise Glasses. And then 40% run either Choice Specs or Shell Bell.
I mean, Cramorant, SP attack, so those items make sense to me as a non-Cramorant player, but maybe one of the actual people who play Cramorant here can say something more.
I think I'm the closest to a Cramorant player here. Yeah. So my tertiary is Cramorant. I do not play him in ranked. No, sometimes I do. I don't know. But I mean, I play like the dive air slash build, and I do Buddy Barrier, Energy Amplifier, Shell Bell, because I'm bad. Mostly I just want to dive at all times, and I want to optimize my ability to dive at all times. So having Energy Amplifier and Shell Bell helps me dive at all times. But Yeah, I mean, Wise Glass it's an interesting item. I admittedly don't remember how well Cramorant's special attack actually scales for damage. But I would assume since Wise Glass is actually getting usage, it's probably not the worst.
Cramorant does decently have some scale, and your special attack is relatively high.
Yeah.
Like, you actually maintain a pretty high special attack in the early and mid game.
Yeah.
I mean, which is actually where...
My main takeaway from looking at like Cram here is obviously you want Buddy Barrier, because if you're not running Buddy Barrier as Cramorant and you ult, they'll just eat you. Like the best way to deal with a Cramorant but when it's ulting is to kill it before it can kill you. And if you don't have a Buddy Barrier, it's very easy for the other team to do that. And then from there, we just see this big division in items because the item loadouts that are recommended vary based on your build, your actual move set, which isn't true with all Pokemon.
I mean,
and it creates a lot of disparity. That's my takeaway from that.
It makes sense.
Next we have, it's not a Pokemon, so I guess we'll move on. Next we have Eldegoss. should we go back? Sorry. This would have been a lot easier if there weren't like egregious things with the Crustal players, so we do actually have to go back. Because we have Eos Cookies being run, Assault Vests being run, EXP shares being run, Float Stones being run.
Let me just we could say as a MOBA hero, not as a Pokemon, because it isn't one, but it's a selectable hero in a MOBA game. So it's
an acceptable Gen 5 of all the Gen 5s at least. So I'll give it some time.
Yeah, I think we should just count those 5s as zeros because it's people just experimenting.
At least it's not Conkeldurr. Well, I swear to God, if they add Conkeldurr, I'm quitting immediately. I'm just.
Or you play Machamp. It's just a reskin to Machamp. That's what you have to do.
Or if it actually, I would laugh. I would laugh if Conkeldurr was just a skin you could buy from Machamp, because that's all it is in the game.
No, Clayton, it's a skin you buy from Machamp that increases all of your base stats by 10.
Sorry, yes. It's a skin that's better. Yes. God damn it.
Okay. So, real quick on Crustal players. 80% score shield, fucking duh. Crustal's whole thing is to run behind enemy lines and dunk on their asses. 65 Buddy Barrier, and then 40% Focus Band, 40% Scope Lens. Looks like there's just, kind of a disparity between if you're trying to play a tankier Crustal or if you're trying to play an attackier Crustal.
It seems like some people are experimenting with this. So the only travesty
I wouldn't go that far, Ton. I would say there's a tanky Crustal build, there's an attacky Crustal build, and then there's some drunk people.
Okay, yeah, drunk people. Because what the fuck are you doing with Floatstone?
I'm a Floatstone EXP share Crustal.
It technically gives you more movement speed, but it just doesn't seem worth it.
Which doesn't.
It's like one of those moments where when the first couple of months in the game, before people knew anything, people said Floatstone was really good, and so you have a lot of people who accidentally made their Floatstone grade 30.
I remember that.
So you might as well use it.
I found a tier list today that said Rocky Helmet was S tier.
That's funny.
Now, we're going to go over the item tier list later, because I have one that's based on all this fun data. But Rocky Helm is not going to be an S tier. Spoilers.
No. So the only thing that should be 100 in this Crustal build is Score Shield. It's basically mandatory on him.
Yeah, I'm shocked it's not 100. And I'm really, I'm curious who's not running it and what they're running it. I could find that out. I don't know why I'm actually asking. I have
down
the
those
data.
People and yell at them for being wrong.
Okay. I don't have their email addresses. I can't actually yell at them.
But you have their Reddit usernames, right?
No, I don't. I just have a timestamp from when they did the poll.
All right.
Because the poll is a Google form I post on Reddit. Is probably the better way to put it. And I'm going to do another one at the mid-season break point, and then we'll have more of this data.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Eldegoss. I'd recommend. So Scope Lens is an interesting choice on Crustle. And it's because Stealth Rocks can crit. Crustle doesn't actually have a crit chance, but Scope Lens does give you your crits, and your moves actually do crit.
Yes.
So that's kind of interesting. So
yeah, it's very weird how some Pokemon can crit with their charge attacks and others cannot. I admittedly don't like that disparity very much. But Crustle. I mean, so Crustle's fun to play.
Pokemon, so that's why.
Huh?
It breaks the rules because it's not a Pokemon.
Yeah.
We can move on from it.
But Wigglytuff does. Yeah. Eldegoss. 100% of Eldegoss players run Buddy Barrier. 77% run Muscle Band, and then it kind of falls apart from there. Where it seems like you have people who are running Buddy Barrier. They're generally running Muscle Band, and then they're running either EXP Share or Focus Band. And that seems to be more or less the Eldegoss loadout from this data. Decent amount run Score Shield, and amount run Wise Glasses or Choice Specs. I'm one of the Wise Glasses people when I filled out this poll. I'm Buddy Barrier, I'm Muscle Band, I'm Wise Glasses. My reason is the special attack scaling for Eldegoss's abilities are ridiculous. So being able to get that bonus special attack does really increase strength of shields that you give other players and the amount you heal them.
Neat.
Yeah, I was expecting Wise Glasses to be like way higher than at least like I think Choice Specs.
Yeah, I mean, I know it was like a meme item pick for a while for Eldegoss, but I figured that was just people who were memeing. And it looks like it was just people who are memeing and me who took them seriously and committed to it as a way of life. I don't think there's anything super interesting there. I think all of these items, except Choice Specs, make a lot of sense for Eldegoss, and there's nothing really noteworthy here.
Yeah. Yeah, Muscle Band because you just auto attack in lane.
Oh god, yeah, you shred. You fucking shred.
As somebody who lanes with this man when he plays Eldegoss, when I'm playing Machamp, I do appreciate laning with an Eldegoss that can bail me out of bad situations.
It's fun. Garchomp. 75% Muscle Band. 63% muscle Focus Band. 38% Buddy Barrier Razor Claw. There's nothing consistent happening here at all.
Scope Lens. Oh wait, never mind. I was looking at a wrong one. Muscle Band, yeah, because you get auto attack as Garchomp. You want to auto attack as frequently as possible, in part because his passive is literally to auto attack more frequently, right? So Muscle Band makes sense to me.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Muscle Band, Focus Band make a lot of sense. And that's just kind of, I mean, this really feels like it. Just grab 3 items and go for it. And for some reason, one person thought a Rocky Helmet was okay.
You already have a Rocky Helmet.
Yeah.
It's built into your passive.
Well, why not? Por qué no las dos?
Yeah, tank build. Focus Band makes a lot of sense. You need to not die as a Gibble. Yeah. Oh my god.
I mean, all of the items here make sense. It's just, it's not interesting. It's very dispersed.
Yeah, it's just more of a personal preference.
Yeah, there's not like where a lot of these Pokemon you do have a seeming community consensus around the items they run. Garchomp doesn't have that.
Yeah. A lot of Garchomp players are bad, so...
Yeah. Speaking of community census around items to run, Gardevoir has 100% Choice Specs, 89% Wise Glasses.
Gotta pump that special attack up.
So you run Choice Specs, you run Wise Glasses, and then you run another item.
Sometimes they're running Shell Bell, which means even then, they're still just getting more special attack.
And given Gardevoir's special attack is immense, you actually get a lot of healing off Shell Bell.
It's one of the few Pokemon where the healing is actually worth it. So, plus the cooldown reduction is great because you're kind of dependent on your ability to move.
I wonder who the fuck's running EXP share on Gardevoir though. Like, I get it,
junglers.
but
it's junglers. It's always junglers.
If you're running an EXP share on Gardevoir, like you've already admitted you're going to be behind, and you need to be really aggressive about getting kills and trying to out-level your team. And EXP share forces you to be below level, which causes you to be useless longer. Andrew, in case you weren't familiar, Gardevoir and Garchomp are fucking trash until they're level 10.
Yeah,
they're
that
both,
checks out.
They're both trying to be hard. They're both set up to be hard carries, right? Characters that are generally bad early game, for the benefit of people who maybe aren't as experienced with MOBAs, right? They tend to be bad early game, but if they get a lot of FP and they level up a lot, they become very strong late game, or at least in other games, this concept works. In Pokemon Unite, part of the problem is, since it only lasts 10 minutes, typically the level gap between like the super high leveled people and the lower leveled people is smaller. So that concept just doesn't work as well, because you end up taking advantage of that stronger, really high level state for a lot less time, right? That's kind of my interpretation anyway.
Yeah, you kind of have to depend on comeback XP as Gardevoir, because you're going to be behind anyway. So.
Mm-hmm. Next we have Gengar. No one mained Gengar.
Which is why I should have responded to the poll, because then I could have made it 100% for one item.
We have a community consensus for Gengar around Chaos Cookie, XP share, and weakness policy. The optimized build.
Absolutely. If people actually want to know what I run as Gengar, 100% of the time I run Wise Glasses and Choice Specs. Gengar is an attacker, right? Well, not an attacker, but like basically is supposed to be doing damage as quickly as possible.
Yeah,
typically.
It's a burst caster.
Yeah, burst caster. So similar to a Gardevoir, you're definitely going to want those Wise Glasses for that extra special attack on your nukes. Especially if you're running, and you're also going to want Choice Specs especially if you're running Shadow Ball Dream Eater, because those are big on, dealing big burst damage in a short amount of time. And Choice Specs' ability synergizes with that, with the extra damage it deals out, right? For the third item, I personally, and this may not be actually a good choice, but I personally run for Score Shield if I'm trying to get behind enemy lines and sneak scores fairly frequently, which if you have Hex is surprisingly easy because it is easier because it gives you a reliable escape option, right? If you just want to do as much damage as possible as quickly as possible, you can meme by adding either... I don't even have special attack specs, but that's one that I see people running sometimes. Or even Shell Bell for if you just want to absolutely maximize both damage and also the fact that Gengar has a small amount of healing he has access to. Shell Bell doubles up on that, I guess, even if I don't think it's a substantial amount.
I mean, Shell Bell healing generally isn't that worth it, and we will touch on that later when we discuss items and how they could be better or worse or the same. Anyway, Greedon is another Pokemon with a pretty agreed-upon loadout. Buddy Barrier, Score Shield, Focus Band, all really high percentages. A decent amount run attack weight at 33, which I think makes sense if you want to be, just an absolute monster. Buddy Barrier, Score Shield, attack weight on Greedon will just make everybody cry like a little bitch. Because, I mean, this was pre-Greedon patch when, the attack scaling for his skills was immense. So getting that bonus attack stat from attack weight was just terrifying. I don't think there's much else to say with Greedon.
Actually lends himself to attack weights pretty well.
Yeah.
Notably because you actually lane really well. You're very tanky. You have a defensive ability. So it lends itself to being able to just score on the enemy's zone.
I mean, being able to stack Score Shield with Defense Curl is very helpful early game. It guarantees you scores. Next, we have Greninja players. Greninja players are more sharing than Cinderace players. 88% of them run Buddy Barriers. 79% run Muscle Bands. And then 58% run Scope Lens. With a respectable 42% on Focus Band. So
yeah, that's normal.
Honestly, the only two things here that three, Razor Claw, really like.
It's funny because Razor Claw actually can work better on Greninja than it does on Cinderace because you actually melee.
It's lower on Greninja.
Yeah.
But here's what I don't fucking get. Who the fuck is running special attack specs on Greninja, a physical attacker?
The same people running choice specs. I think that you can just outlier them as wrong.
I'm so upset.
They could also be boomers who have last played a Pokemon during Gen 1. Pick Greninja because it's a cool looking water type, and then think all water types are special. So it must be a special attack.
Yeah. That fucking checks out.
That's a logical thought process if you don't know how to read and clearly see that the game is telling you it's a special attack. Right.
Yeah.
So
that's fair. Yep. Be loved by old people.
Yeah, every boomer's favorite 6th gen Pokemon, Greninja. Anyway, we got Lucario.
Speaking of favorite Pokemon,
if you play Lucario, please stop. Like, I know he's okay, but like, it's Blue Goku Furry, the Pokemon, and it's just I don't know.
So here's what's fun about Lucario, and I know that hurts because I also fucking hate Lucario and everything it stands for. I've hated Lucario since it was introduced as a Pokemon, and my favorite memory throughout my entire life is when I defeated my friend's Mega Lucario with a fucking Venomoth. That's the memory I'm going to carry to my death, and I'm going to think about it when I'm dying and be like, I lived a good life because I beat a fucking Mega Lucario with a goddamn Venomoth. Anyway, Lucario players have a very diverse item loadout. 63% are running Attack Weight or Score Shield. 50% Muscle Band. 42% Focus Band. 38% Buddy Barrier. 29% Razor Claw. And then, for some reason, someone's running fucking Wise Glasses on this thing, but, Lucario players, you can only do so much.
Style points.
Huh?
It's style points.
Style points. They want to look cool.
As I say, many a time, many puppies are Lucario players, and puppies are bad. Their puppies are just bad. That's it.
No, you want glasses on your personality. That's what it's for.
It's so you can see better when you fire that Aura Sphere.
It's true. Actually, that's the one thing that I like about Lucario. His ult is kind of bad. It doesn't really play well with a lot of his kits.
It doesn't, but it's good for sniping Zapdos.
It's a big Kamehameha, and that makes it cool. But that's it.
I also want to give a shout out to that one Madman Lucario player running Eos Cookie, because I think Lucario is one of the one Pokemon that's okay with. If you want to roll out Score Shield, Attack Weight, Eos Cookie, fucking do it, man.
Yeah, I mean, if you're already running Attack Weight, which is
be an even bigger bitch to kill. I don't care. But yeah, just a lot of variety there. Next, Clayton, we've got your boy Machamp.
Yeah, so Machamp is my actual main, so I feel not qualified, but I don't know. I know things that work.
71% Razor Claw, 71% Scope Lens, 57% Muscle Band, and 43% Buddy Barrier, with some asshole running Float Stone.
Gotta go fast.
Make total sense to me, honestly.
Yeah.
Like Floatstone for the handful of people who just have it as a good item of theirs and so feel obligated to run it. Sure.
Yeah.
I personally, as Machamp, run Scope Lens, Muscle Band, Focus Band. But I used to run Buddy Barrier, and I can definitely see the argument for Buddy Barrier. It definitely made it so I could like pop the Buddy Barrier almost like a health potion, use the extra time to like get that like basic attack damage, and then like hit him with the Muda Muda when you want to get the burst in.
Yeah. I mean, what this looks like, and I think what you have represented is representative, because what this looks like to me is generally 2 offensive items between Muscle Band, Razor Claw, Scope Lens, and 1 defensive item between Buddy Barrier, Focus Band, and Score Shield, and 1 drunk idiot with Floatstone.
And that makes a lot of sense, because as Machamp, you're going to be up in the thick of things fighting people, right? So you want a little bit of survivability so you don't just immediately melt when you're in the middle of the enemy team. But you want to focus on a little bit more, right, is getting that damage in there so you can actually just delete people while you're there, right? And that's why Scope Lens makes a lot of sense on Machamp, in part because if you're running Submission, Submission applies a buff where it boosts your crit rate, right? Which means you get more benefit from Scope Lens, which A, makes your crit rate even higher, and B, gives you more crit damage, right? So makes a lot of sense, especially for running a specific like loadout, right?
Yeah.
And then, Muscle Band, because obviously you're using your basic attack a lot. That's the bulk of your damage, right? So you want to pump that up if you can. And then Razor Claw, if you want more of that crit rate, while also benefiting from the melee-only feature of the slow, because you have a melee attack unlike Cinderace, so there's actually a case for it, unlike Cinderace, right?
Yeah. Okay, we're going to skip Mamoswine because only 2 people played Mamoswine, so this data is pretty spotty.
I mean, 0 people played Gengar, and I talked about him.
Yeah, well, I mean, as the Mamoswine aficionado of our group, I'm skipping him. It's time for Mr. Mime. And Mr. Mime is bringing us...
Pokemon.
Huh?
I said the bad touch Pokemon.
Mr. Mime is bringing us back to the start, because the general loadout is Buddy Barrier, Focus Band, Score Shield. The same general loadout we had for Blastoise. Because...
Mr. Mime is actually really good, like, already, just inherently because of your abilities.
Yeah.
So you just make him pretty durable, and you're pretty much good.
Yep. It's Mr. Mime. I mean, yeah, I think that's it. I mean,
you could run triple glasses as a meme build, and you totally delete people.
Oh, I've run Spider Mime before. He's a blast.
Mr. Mime is an attacker. This is true.
Yes. Next we have Ninetales. So let's see. 88% of Ninetales players run Buddy Barrier, which, let's be honest, if you didn't run Buddy Barrier, why even use an ult? Ninetales' ult is absolute trash.
It actually is.
75% use Muscle Band, and 50% use Wise Glasses. Now, I do need to note again that this is from the end of Season 1, so this is before the Ninetales buff we got that saw Avalanche's damage increased and Ninetales' stat distribution changed. I would assume that the Muscle Band is high because most of these players are probably Aurora Veil, which, if you're running Aurora Veil, you run Muscle Band. There's, like, if you don't do them both, there's no point to the other one.
Makes sense as someone who, when he plays Ninetales, plays Aurora Veil. You're using basic attacks a lot. See Machamp commentary about why
and
Muscle Band is good for basic attacks.
Because those boosted attacks, and because in Aurora Veil the attacks are boosted, Wise Glasses also gives a nice damage buff. I don't know. It's I don't think this is that there's a lot here on Ninetales.
Well, you scale really well off of Shell Bell and Wise Glasses because they're percentage. So Ninetales actually does have the highest special attack stat in the game.
Now, he didn't when this data was collected.
That's true, yeah. So if you wanted to apply it now, yeah, wise
Yeah.
glasses and they'll actually do work well.
Okay, next we have Pikachu. Pikachu's all over the place. 71% choice specs, 57% buddy barrier, 43% wise glasses. Ton, you play Pikachu. What do you think of
Yes.
choice specs, buddy barrier, wise glasses?
Yeah. So Choice Specs actually works pretty well just because you proc that damage from a huge distance. So Pikachu's biggest advantage is having like incredibly unfair range. That's kind of his gimmick.
Is
Choice
there
Specs does
like
work too,
is
and he
there
has high
a
special.
place that explains like the range distances or tiers for Pokemon?
Not that I know of for
I haven't looked
filtering
into it,
range.
so I wouldn't know.
Damn,
But
Ton,
you
you're
can
on
kinda
math
tell
board. You're
in the
supposed to
game.
know this.
No one's done a table yet. I don't think so.
Cowards.
Yeah. Yeah. So Pikachu actually is interesting because you have Muscle Band, and the reason why people run it is because A, you attack from the longest distance in the game, so you proc it a lot, and B, it actually does apply your attack speed to Pikachu at every level, so you do get a lot of value from it. The only item that's kind of weird is Score Shield. That's probably the only one that kind of like.
That's
stands
like
out to
one
me.
person.
Yeah, yeah. You
I mean,
basically have like
Score
your
Shield.
little
Score Shield
like,
is definitely a thing people will run, even if it's not optimized, because like it
Yeah.
makes sense. Like I'm not going to give
It's
someone
one of the
shit
best.
for running a Score Shield on anything like I would if they were running Eos Cookie.
Yeah. Muscle Band and Buddy Bear are pretty excusable too, just because Pikachu has it's extremely squishy, and you have like no escape option.
Andrew, how do you feel about Pikachu?
I mean, it's a lot of fun to play.
What do you run on Pikachu?
Buddy Bear, choice specs, wise glasses.
See, there we go. Andrew nailed it.
I mean, I like special attack, and then the buddy barrier helps me not die.
Yeah, that's pretty true.
One thing I will say is Energy Amplifier you would think would actually be higher because you actually do get a ton of value out of Energy Amplifier, lowering your cooldown, and it's within the time range of your ultimate being able to do as much damage as it can from the boost.
Okay, Slowbro. Buddy Barrier, Focus Band, Score Shield.
Gary runs Slowbro. I will say that from what I understand of Slowbro, you don't do damage usually. You don't die and you try to disable the other team with your telekinesis and whatnot.
Yep.
But I don't know how much that has changed.
That's it.
So
Yep, that's pretty much it. Slowbro
So
is
you
a
wanna
kind
be
of
as
a one-trick gimmick.
Yeah.
So you want to be as tanky as possible, basically, so you can maximize the amount of time that you can disable other team members. The other
So
team, right?
here's actually the funny thing, because if you go on Unite DB, Buddy Barrier isn't necessarily recommended for Slowbro. They recommend Focus Band, they recommend Score Shield, but then they recommend Assault Vest. And the reason for that is because Slowbro already gives himself a pretty substantial shield through his ult, so the Buddy Barrier just kind of doesn't do a lot for him, where an Assault Vest at least gives you like something throughout the game. This is not an Assault Vest good situation. This is an Assault Vest better than other options. But it's pretty clear that people have not been reading that.
Real quick, so it balances out Amnesia a little bit, just because, so with Amnesia builds, you actually boost your defense, but it doesn't boost your special defense.
Yeah.
So getting Assault Vest actually kind of like makes you even out tankiness on him.
Okay. Next, Snorlax. This is another Buddy Barrier, Focus Band, Score Shield situation where a couple mad lads are running Muscle Band. One guy's running Scope Lens. That's probably a Yawn Flail build. And then we have an Assault Vest and leftovers.
Yawn Flail is hilarious, though.
It's hilarious and bad.
Yeah.
And hilarious.
I mean, I'm not good at Snorlax. I have Snorlax. I've played a few Snorlax games, and he definitely felt more like a don't die and try to disable as much of the other team as possible character. I tried Yawn on a lulz for the lulz when we were all playing the 5 defenders team game, and I was completely useless, or felt completely useless, because I had more damage, but I still didn't feel like I had enough damage.
Yeah.
You know, is the problem.
Okay, scrolling down. Sylveon. Sylveon is another kind of scattered data Pokemon. 75% run Wise Glasses, 50% run Choice Specs, and Special Attack Specs. So, numerically speaking, the Spider build, which is all 3 glasses, is the most popular build for Sylveon. I don't really know who's running Muscle Band on Sylveon, to be honest. Sylveon's not a Pokemon you auto-attack with a lot, but I don't know. There's a very clear trend here for whatever gives you damage, give it to Sylveon. Do we have any other notes, or are we moving on? Because none of us play Sylveon.
That makes sense. I don't play Sylveon.
I've got a 0% win rate on Sylveon.
I played a little bit of Sylveon. I think Sylveon's a little like it, though.
Okay. Talonflame. 71% Razor Claw, 52% Scope Lens, and 48% Buddy Barrier and Score Shield. Ton, you like Talonflame.
Yeah, I do love Talonflame.
Tell me about it.
Razor Claw makes a lot of sense. You want to apply the slow because you don't really have any real disables. You basically do the most amount of auto attack damage in the game, and also some of the highest ability damage in the game. So having a slow really helps them, like, apply that debuff so you can just keep hitting them. Buddy Barrier, because you're actually really squishy, and once you hit your Buddy Barrier, you're basically in the face of whoever you manage to hit with that ult. So it's very hard to hit. Score Shield makes a lot of sense because you're actually one of the best scoring Pokemon in the game, just because you have so much mobility. You can sneak behind enemy lines and just score and dunk, and then get out of jail free card, basically.
Yeah. I think outside of the choice specs, I think all of these make sense, and I'm not shocked that there's a little bit of a decentralization, and I'm really happy that for the most part it seems like Talonflame players understood the assignment.
Yeah, I'm always happy to play with a Talonflame player. Especially if they're mean and they love stealing shit. That's what you're good for.
Yeah. Okay, Venusaur.
Which is why you should run, like, X Attack.
Venusaur's all over the goddamn place.
Venusaur is an attacker and a speedster.
77% Focus Band, 62% Muscle Band, 46% Buddy Barrier.
I mean, on my Venusaur, I run Muscle Band because big whips. That's it.
Pretty much big whips.
Probably why most people run it.
Yeah. Get that chonk.
Venusaur has, like, a kind of broken boosted, so I totally get it. The other abilities, the other items, I'm not surprised it's really sporadic. Venusaur is one of those weird cases where your abilities don't scale well off of your items. So it leaves you, like, with the option of having to run other things. So it forces you to diversify into other things. So it makes you really flexible. I think the best thing to do on Venusaur is to make yourself very durable. So you have your standard, Buddy Barrier, Focus Band, Score Shield build just to get your HP up, because you're actually very squishy. In fact, you have, like, the same HP as, like, fucking Pikachu. Just to put it into perspective. And you have even lower, like,
all of your bulk comes from, like, Giga Draining.
Yeah, pretty much. So,
but Muscle Band is still very good.
Yeah. Muscle Band is your flex, so you can substitute that for more endurance, or if you wanted to start slapping people, you run Muscle Band. Assault Vest doesn't make sense. I would just take that out as an outlier.
To be fair, Assault Vest, Energy Amplifier, XP Share, Razor Claw, and Scope Lens are probably all a single person.
Yeah. Fucking crit Venusaur. That's funny.
Hey, I mean, speaking of crits, I'm actually shocked Wigglytuff is only a 7% on scope lens. as
Yeah,
as an enthusiast of Critlytuff, this is bullshit.
for people who don't know, your slaps can crit
Yeah.
independently.
Wigglytuff is one of the few Pokemon who can get crits off of her charge moves. So with Wigglytuff, we see 93% Buddy Barrier, 79% Score Shield, 57% Focus Band, and then 21 on EXP and 29 on Muscle Band. I mean, my takeaway here is this makes sense. The default, again, it's just a bulky Wigglytuff build with some people playing around with some offensive items or an EXP share. I don't know how I feel about EXP share on Wigglytuff because Wigglytuff's so good at last hitting in lane at early game. So, putting an EXP share disincentivizes you from utilizing that, which feels bad. But
if you play Wigglytuff, you basically play with a lot of people really well. You kind of are incentivized with that team play. So I can understand why some people would do EXP share.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I appreciate people who do that. It gives your laner some extra XP. That's a good support right there. give them likes. Give them likes if they run that.
It's like I'm not healing anybody, but don't worry, you'll get some extra EXP from me.
Yeah. You need teammates to make your abilities work anyway. Like Sing requires teammates, your ult requires teammates, etc. So.
Mm-hmm. And next, because I was not expecting this part of this to take an hour, but next we have Zera Aura. What, Clayton?
I said Thunder Furry.
Yes, Thunder Furry.
Yeah.
Thunder Furry, 69% Muscle Band, 58% Focus Band and Buddy Barrier, 46% Razor Claw. One fucking idiot's running special attack specs, but otherwise we see, respectable showings from attack weight, scope lens, score shield. This makes a lot of sense. Zera's got a pretty decent ult that does well in group settings, so Buddy Barrier makes sense. I mean, you don't want to die Focus Band.
So I feel like I should elaborate on this.
Yeah.
The reason why you see less so attack items and more on defensive items, like your standard Buddy Barrier, Focus Band, Score Shield, etc., is because Zera Aura's damage doesn't actually quite come from your abilities. It comes from your passive. So your passive is a built-in weakness policy where you stack as much damage that you take as much as possible, and then you reflect it back as a bonus extra attack. And so you want to be able to absorb as much damage as possible. It's the reason why sometimes when you're in the middle of a team fight and you're fighting and you're doing your damage, and a lot of it gets stacked onto the enemy's Zera Aura, and then he ults in and you're dead. That's probably happened to you more than once. That's actually the reason why. It's because he's basically stacking up his internal passive weakness policy with Volt Absorb.
Literally just sitting there with counter.
Yep. Which is funny because the Zera Aura is actually kind of bad for like one-on-ones. So you can actually just burst him down really quickly. He has relatively low defenses.
Yeah. Okay. So those are Pokemon and item usage. Are we ready for the next graph?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was neat.
This is item synergies.
Ooh.
So what we have here, there we go. All items, we just have, items to items. What this does is it tracks how many people who are running Chaos Cookie are also running Score Shield or Muscle Band or Buddy Barrier. In this case, 3 are running Score Shield, 1 is running Muscle Band, 2 are running Buddy Barrier. So you can go across a row or a column. The data reflects on itself in that midpoint, as you can tell by that white diagonal, to see how often someone who's running item X is also running item Y from the raw data. The raw data, I believe, is 329 respondents. So a full third of them are running Buddy Barrier and Focus Band, for instance. if you notice in this data, some points have like this weird like dotted border around them, like at Rocky Helmet weakness policy, that indicates that that is at least one standard deviation above the expected value. So, like, someone is expected to run Rocky Helmet and weakness policy far less than twice. That is not less than two people should be running those two items simultaneously. And then anything that's boxed and bold is two standard deviations above expected value. So I have hidden in the spreadsheet, I have, the standard deviation for each item, the mean for each item, and then mean plus standard deviation, mean plus standard deviation 2. Made some customized rules in Excel to automate doing that. So I don't think we're going to run over every data point on this. That would be insane. So I vote we just touch on the big overlaps, which,
like a good idea,
for the most part, are exactly what you would expect. With Buddy Barrier Score Shield, Buddy Barrier Muscle Band, Buddy Barrier Focus Band Score Shield, and Focus Band Muscle Band being very common combinations. As a note, Focus Band... Where's Focus Band Score Shield? Wait, sorry, Muscle Band Score. One of these doesn't. Muscle Band Score Shield does not actually have a very high correlation. Like, they aren't even one standard deviation above average. So people are very often to run Focus Band and Buddy Barrier, and then either Score Shield or Muscle Band, with those two being more replaceable between each other. The one other interesting thing here, I mean, it's not really interesting because these two items synergize well, but it's still here. Two standard deviations above average is Choice Specs Wise Glasses, with 20 people doing both.
Well,
So
it makes sense, because if you're going to do one, you might as well do the other two.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we don't have to touch on the data points before that, because, I mean, I think we've touched on how fucking everybody's running Buddy Barrier, Score Shield, Muscle Band, Focus Band. So, let's...
And I would think that with Score Shield, you would get a very high representation of the stacking items.
Let's see.
Nope,
nothing out of the ordinary. Though, what I do need to note, and what is important here, is this has to be out of the expected value for both Score Shield and the stacking item. And because Score Shield is has such high number, like, it doesn't really matter, because, like, I mean, if you look at this, let's see, Score Shield, Scope Lens, and Attack Weight have the same number of people. Yeah. But as we saw in the data we just went over, a lot more people are running Scope Lens than Attack Weight. So, like, without a doubt, most people who run Attack Weight are also running Score Shield. But that is not an out-of-the-ordinary correlation for Score Shield. It only is for Attack Weight. And because it only is for Attack Weight, it's not highlighted in the data.
I like that Buddy Barrier and Focus Band have a synergy of 108.
Yep, a whole third of the player base runs both of those items together.
That's nuts. I mean, makes sense to me. I frequently would run like Focus Band with an item that ups HP. So
you get the most value out of it as a combo. So defense in Pokemon Unite works the same way as defense in pretty much every game. It's logarithmic scaling, and you basically get more effective HP with the more HP you actually have with the damage reduction. So,
Mm-hmm. Sorry, now I'm looking for some other...
It's a sweet spot for, like, how to combine that to get the most efficient game, right? But, like, you get more effective HP by reducing the amount of damage you take, and therefore, like, what percentage of your current HP you lose at any given time, right? So... Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there are a couple other data points in here, and I think they're they're also very self-explanatory. Scope Lens has a +1 standard deviation correlation with Muscle Band and Razor Claw.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we all kind of figured that was the case, but it's there. And then the other one is, as I kind of touched earlier, is Rocky Helmet and Weakness Policy. Because they're the same thing.
Going back to the Score Shield, kind of glad to see other people, data suggests, are basically running Score Shield as a value item and not necessarily just for the stacking items.
Yeah. So let's see. Chaos Cookie, everybody who runs Chaos Cookie runs Score Shield. We have 6 data points here. That's how that's going to work.
I mean, that synergizes very well, though, because they both are HP items, and one of them benefits from scoring a large number of times, the other enables scoring a large number of times. So the synergy,
your Score Shield is based on your HP.
The synergy there is fairly obvious.
Yeah. However, there's nothing interesting about Score Shield and special attack specs, even from the special attack specs perspective. If you're running special attack specs, you're more likely to be running either Wise Glasses or Buddy Barrier. And you're equally likely to be running Focus Band or Shell Bell. So,
this is a little potentially more surprising for me, but the Wise Glasses thing doesn't. One of the more common Pokemon I see special attack specs recommended on as like a meme build is Gengar. Literally just to maximize your special attack stat by going Wise Glasses and choice specs and special attack specs. Literally just wear 3 pairs of glasses.
It's called the spider build because you have 8 eyes.
I dig
It's definitely the most fun using it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing. You can run an attack weight in a normal loadout with other items. And you can still run Score Shield and then something else. It seems like that's not the case with special attack specs. They're much riskier. You can't play a Pokemon and go, I'm going to run special attack specs and Score Shield to ensure I can use them. Versus attack weight, where you have Lucarios and Greedons who can be like, oh, and we'll also run Score Shield because why the fuck not?
To do with the sorts of Pokemon that benefit from either case, right? Like attackers that benefit from attack weight also tend to have, at least at the stage of the game where they need to like be scoring, they have the survivability to be able to kind of like really go in, benefit maximally from the Score Shield, which depends on HP pool.
Extent, I mean, right? Like look
and
at
who are the scoring. And can survive scoring, which special attackers tend to be squishier, right?
Who are the
squishy Pokemon?
Who are the durable physical attackers that could do this? And it's Greedon, it's Lucario, it's Pokemon that are really good at aggressively scoring and have ways to generate their own shields in addition to Score Shield. And who are bulky special attackers? And we're looking at Slowbro. And with Slowbro, like, what, you're not doing damage. That's not your thing. Don't run attack specs. Run almost anything else.
And Wise Glasses is better because it doesn't require as much, like, it doesn't require you to go out of your way to score when you should be supporting your teammates or, like, babysitting in lane.
Yeah, you run Telekinesis. You're not supposed to be alone like you can be as Lucario or Greedon. Okay. So that's item synergies. Any other takeaways on item synergies before we move on?
Technically, the only bulky special attacker would be Mr. Mime, if you count him as an attacker.
Yeah, but I mean, what was Mime's usage on Buddy on Score Shield? Pretty good. We did have one special attacks Mime.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I appreciate. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, the special attack specs, Score Shield. Yeah, that works on Mr. Mime.
Yeah, I mean,
Mr. Mime is extremely mean in lane. So you can totally get away with it.
He's a bully. Okay.
The same reason that Lucario is great. The one thing I just want to mention is I like that Focus Band and Muscle Band have high synergistic usage just because it means you can have one bandana on each arm.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to move on to the tier list now. And how this tier list was calculated was I took the data from this poll, which was frequency of item usage. I also took data from a previous Reddit community poll I did at the midpoint of Season 1, where I asked people which items they felt should be nerfed and which items they felt should be buffed. And I threw the numbers together, came out with outputs, and used those outputs to tier the items into 5 tiers. Are we ready for the item tier list so we can start talking about all of these items we've been talking about again?
Yeah.
Yep. Fuck yeah, let's go. I also have Unite DB open in case we want to look at like the items here. But our 5 tiers are the major buffs tier. Here we have Leftovers, Floatstone, and Rocky Helmet. The following tiers, these are items that almost universally people think need to be buffed, and as you've seen, see very little usage. Next, we have the minor buffs tier. These are items that, slightly less people think need to be buffed and might be used slightly more, but still more people think these items need to be buffed than people think they need to be nerfed, plus the amount of people who play them. And that is Shell Bell, Assault Vest, Chaos Cookie, Weakness Policy, EXP Share, and Energy Amplifier. The third tier is the fine tier. These are, whatever, like no one's going to complain. Wise Glasses, Special Attack Specs, Attack Weight, Choice Specs, Razor Claw, Scope Lens.
They see use, but they're not seen as like over-centralized.
Yeah. These are good enough items that they don't need to be changed.
They're viable, but not overused.
Yes. Next is the fine tier. Here's the thing: if you talk to the Pokemon Unite community, they're very vocal about how items should never be buffed and items should never be nerfed and only buffed. Focus Band, Score Shield, and Muscle Band are 3 items that I ultimately do think need minor nerfs. I think they're overly centralizing and very good. And I think we have seen in the data that we have spent over an hour going over that they are overly centralizing and very good. That being said, out of respect for the community and not wanting them to literally murder me on the second video I've made about Pokemon Unite, I will say they're fine. I will not, however, extend that courtesy to fucking Buddy Barrier, because a full 2/3 of players run Buddy Barrier, and an obscene amount want it nerfed. If they had to nerf items with that caveat, they would nerf Buddy Barrier.
I would say it is not unreasonable to assume that if you were to make a post on Reddit asking, hey, I just unlocked my 3 insta level 30 items, what should I use them on?
Well, you'd get flagged for a low effort post.
Okay, fine, but like hypothetically, right? Let's say you had something like that, or just like you're trying to collect like items that people have spent their level 30s on. I bet you it would be the most common thing people do, and B, the first thing anyone would suggest.
Yes.
Right? It is useful on a large fraction of the available Pokemon, and the effect it has is just insanely good, right? Like, you can use it in a lot of different situations. You can pop it as like a health potion in a team fight. You can use it to support your teammates. You can use it to just get general survivability from the large passive HP buff it gives you. It does a lot of things for a lot of different Pokemon, and I would agree. It's definitely like God tier.
Yeah.
It's the Brawl Meta Knight of Pokemon Unite items. It is, like, obviously the best one.
So, with that, we are going to now not talk about Buddy Barrier for 20 minutes, okay? I believe in us. We can do an item video without talking about Buddy Barrier for 20 minutes.
Fair enough.
What if I like Buddy Barrier?
Huh?
What if I like Buddy Barrier?
Fuck you, Andrew. You can leave this chat.
That just means he's objectively correct about being able to pick an item that's good, right?
Yeah.
So I understand, Andrew.
I mean, it helps me win.
Let's talk about how we'd want to buff these items, starting with Leftovers. Now, Leftovers, as you can see, it gives you, at level 30, 240 HP, 9 HP recovery, whatever the fuck that is. And recovers your health 2% per second once you're outside of combat, which takes 8 seconds to trigger.
Here's an idea.
It's the 8 seconds. Just remove that.
Okay, Clayton, give me your take, and then I'll give you mine.
I want to suggest this because it kills 2 birds with 1 stone, right?
Okay.
A, Leftovers is underpowered and needs a buff.
Yes.
B, given Gengar's bottom of the barrel tier usage, Gengar is not great either. I think one thing you could tweak that would buff both at the same time would be to simply reduce the amount of time it takes to be considered out of combat, right? Yeah. Because you would then minimally, more frequently get the Leftovers advantage, which for a heal over time effect is just obviously useful, right? It buffs Gengar because his passive is moves more quickly when out of combat, which you never see practically because you're like, it takes 8 seconds to be out of combat and you should be killing things, or at least trying to, right? And honestly, even for like Floatstone, because that has the similar issue where it buffs HP out of combat, and just taking longer to get into combat intrinsically makes that weaker, right?
Yeah. So you would just reduce the after leaving combat to like 4 seconds or something like that.
Yeah. Just hack a few seconds off that time, and that buffs a lot, like those 3 things all in the same token.
So I don't know how HP recovery works as far as a thing in Pokemon Unite. Ton, do you know how that works, or is that still a mystery?
Nope. I haven't looked into it, just because it doesn't really.
Okay, we're gonna say it's a mystery. So Scooby Doo, get your fucking dog ass on it. So because of that, I'm not going to touch how I think that the actual stat gains of Leftovers overall is pretty subpar. How I think Leftovers should work is, instead of recovering health over time outside of combat, which I mean I understand is more true to the item in game, in like the core games, I think Leftovers should give you a percentage increase in the amount you're healed whenever you are healed. So if it made it so when you got a berry, you healed an extra 20%. When you're on the like goals, you get an extra 20%. Not of your maximum health, but like if you healed 200, you would instead heal 240. Yeah. I think if it did that, then Leftovers could be utilized to actually like really optimize your tankiness in the game. I mean, it'd become like standard on Greedon. Bye, Andrew. Hi, Andrew.
Sorry.
You're back.
Disconnect quick.
So yeah, my idea is Leftovers should give you an increase in the amount healed whenever you would heal. I think that increases tankiness and does something that I think that for me is going to be pretty overarching when I'm giving recommendations to items, and is something that I think Pokemon Unite should consider, which is making items that are a little more specializable. And that Leftover buff would make it still good, but also a little more specializable for Pokemon that are able to trigger heals on themselves, like Greedon and Eldegoss and Blissey. Not that Eldegoss needs an indirect buff in that way, or Greedon does, but it's my take.
Yeah, I think it should change the definition of what combat is. Like, I think if you are attacked, then that's combat. But when you're attacking something like a wild Pokemon, that shouldn't count against you. Okay.
so only when you're fighting opponents.
Yeah. Yeah, so you're disincentivized to take some proc amount of damage because it'll put your leftovers on cooldown. I think that's a reasonable way to do it.
That'd be interesting if it only triggered when you were actually fighting actual enemies and not just wild Pokemon.
Yeah, and when you're damaged, right? Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's 3 ideas. We've got reduced cooldown. We've got wild Pokemon don't count as combat, and we've got a major overhaul to how it works entirely. And Andrew is here.
I have one idea.
Okay, I'm ready.
How busted would it be if they just removed the out of combat rider?
I think that'd be too good.
That would actually be fine, honestly.
No, that'd be busted.
Because
do the math. Okay, so do the math.
How long does it take to usually die in this game?
Okay, no. Here's the math on this. You have Focus Band. Focus Band will, at level 20, every 80 seconds, proc you for 42% of your health. With leftovers, you would get 42% in 22 seconds at level 20. Now, we could obviously reduce the percentages you recover generally to like scale it, but it'd have to be like by a quarter for it to be on par with Focus Band. The argument against that being obviously Focus Band's health comes in when you need it, leftovers is small and doesn't help in actual combat scenarios.
Focus Band also gives you defense, so your health goes farther.
Leftovers gives you health, so you recover more.
Fair.
I still think it's competing with a lot of other items, so its usage would still be pretty moderate. So
yeah, I mean,
if you actually play around with leftovers in the game and basically see how much it's actually recovering you over time, like in the course of a game, it's like pretty small. Like even if it was on all the time, like you can see the rate go up, and it's like basically not enough to really help you in real situations. And the game is more about like winning the situation rather than like passively getting stuff. So
yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Done on leftovers?
Yep. Yeah.
Floatstone. Floatstone gives you an attack increase, a speed increase, which is a number that none of us really understand, and a movement speed bonus while out of combat. Clayton, I assume your cure is again reducing the out of combat duration?
I mean, that would certainly be a step towards making it better for the same reason it is for leftovers, right? You reduce that cooldown and you increase the amount of time that the buff applies, which makes it better. Right?
Okay. Ton, what do you have?
So when you think about this item, I like to think about it backwards. So who would it help? That's the question I would ask. Who would you actually run this on, right? Who benefits most?
I mean, that's where my approach is going to come from too, so I really want to hear yours.
Yeah, so if I actually like the idea of removing this 8-second nonsense altogether. I think movement speed is already like pretty small in the game as far as like most things that give movement speed. So I don't think
I've got a 20%
movement
movement speed increase. That is not negligible.
Yeah, you can see it in so if you look at like some game analysis, there's like a bunch of on YouTube videos. It is a very small amount. 20% is actually way smaller than you would think it is. You would notice it very slightly. But I think with that, you don't really get all that much value. Just because I guess like with the 8-second thing, really hampers it. But I can see it actually being used if it was something like, maybe let's just reduce it to like 15% without the 8-second thing.
Okay.
And I can see this being good on something like, I don't know, maybe like Machamp, just to make you run even faster and catch people. Pokemon that don't have escapes, like Pikachu, right? It gives you an option to like run away from things.
Yeah, it'd be helpful on heroes that try to kite.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even Charizard maybe, but you have too many items competing for that. So.
Okay. Andrew, you have any ideas?
Just basically what Ton said, removing the 8-second rider.
Here's my take is I like Ton approach it from where with the like make it for someone. Because I think a problem is a lot of these items are generalized. And while it's good to have some generalized items, I think a lot of them need to be specialized to add more diversity in the game. I think Floatstone is a great opportunity to do that, and I think the way to do that is to change the movement speed buff from out of combat to while in the center of the map. So as long as you are between lanes, you get a movement speed buff. This works really well for junglers in allowing them to clear jungle faster and pursue the shit out of you if you're trying to cut through lanes.
I would also change the attack. I think that's really awkward. Change it to HP.
I think a lot of things arbitrarily give HP.
No, but I think Floatstone, it feels like it should have something other than attack. I feel like that weighs it to like physical attackers more.
It does, which I think is fine.
That's a buff idea. Why not give it both attack and special attack?
That's a good idea, yeah.
Because it's not like adding special attack is going to help Machamp, right? Like, so it doesn't make it better for certain Pokemon that it's already potentially targetable for, while also making it more useful for something like, say, Gengar, which could appreciate more movement speed and also would benefit from some extra special attack, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, my take is HP doesn't feel floaty, like, as a stat. I get attack is kind of arbitrary. I'm not a big fan of an item that splits attack and special attack too much.
Or just make it go really fast.
My problem is speed. Like, I would default to crit rate, but I don't think we need a third crit rate item.
I
feel like that might honestly make it too good. Crit rate and attack speed?
No. Instead of attack, it would give crit rate.
So currently, Floatstone is attack and movement speed, but it's specialized, like specific circumstances, movement speed.
Yeah, I think just to keep it clean, make it all about speed. Make it keep it at 20%. Okay, so just to put it in perspective, X speed gives you a 30% movement speed bonus, and you've used X speed before, and you notice how little that really does. Nobody really uses X speed.
It is helpful, but the main thing for X speed is that it makes you unstoppable.
Yeah. It basically, like, as an escape, eject button's just way better. You don't really notice it that well as an escape because your opponents can typically dash and catch up to anyway, or blink. So I don't think buffing Floatstone to making it all about speed would be too unreasonable, right?
Mm-hmm.
It would certainly make games funner just because you have more fast Pokemon around.
I mean, my take is I feel like an item that, I don't know, I think it just doing speed is a little too niche. But it is hard to think of something that pairs well with a speed buff, like, thematically, which is why I'm, like, hesitantly crit rate, but even that's kind of meh.
So I come from the perspective of Dota, and I think making something really niche but really powerful with that niche is actually how you make really good diversity and choice in items.
Okay. Well, I mean, to be fair, this is my only MOBA, so...
Yeah.
But, when I talked to MSG Santa, he told me TF2 is like a MOBA. So, I mean, I'm well experienced, I guess. Vaguely.
MOBA with guns.
Vaguely.
It's a MOBA if it was a first-person shooter instead of an RPG.
I need to avoid, because I don't want to make him sound silly, because, I mean, he knows a lot. In the extent of, like, when you play TF2, you have to do things like consider team comp and placement and, like, all of those same things you have to consider in a MOBA.
Right. So Planet Side is a MOBA, right?
I mean, I think Final Fantasy 1 is a MOBA. Anyway, Rocky Helmet.
Ooh, I've always wanted Rocky Helmet to be really good.
I have too.
I love it.
Ton, how would you make Rocky Helmet really good?
Yeah, so going back to Dota, we have this item called Blade Mail, where it's any amount of damage that you take, you reflect it. And I think that would actually make Rocky Helmet pretty cool.
Okay, so just...
Isn't that an active effect on Blade Mail, though?
Yeah. So if you make Rocky Helm like a certain percentage of the damage that you take, and then reflect it back, then you can get something very similar to that.
Okay, so...
So this is, after absorbing damage enough... damage, and then it's based on your maximum HP. It kind of incentivizes this item on, like, high HP Pokemon, but I kind of don't like that scaling.
Yeah,
And I
no,
think
it's
makes more
scaling's
sense to
bad because it gives you more HP and it gives you more defense, which makes it harder to take the 10% HP damage needed to trigger its effect.
Yeah, so I think making it based on the amount of damage that you actually receive makes it a lot more egalitarian.
So just have it reflect like 5% of what you take or something like that.
Yeah, about that.
Something like, yeah, okay. I'm down. So change it from the 10% HP damage trigger, remove that, and then change the deal damage based on your max HP 345 to instead deal damage percent based on damage taken 345.
Right. Or, you know, what would be interesting is that it could be an active passive, for example. Like, when you take damage, it triggers a certain time span, like, let's say 6 seconds, and it basically starts reflecting like 80% of the damage within that 6 seconds. So it's like Blade Mail. So.
And then it has a cooldown?
Yep, like, yeah, cooldown 30 seconds. I think that's pretty reasonable.
That sounds terrifying.
One thing you could do that would A, make things more complex, but B, be funny, is to remove the whole getting defense is bad because it means you don't take as much damage to reflect with it. You could have it so the attacks are reflected as if they were repeats of that attack originating on you with the stats from the attacker. So it's not what you took from the attack, it's what they would take if they got hit by the same attack.
Sorry, Cinderace, but Mamoswine's here to fuck your life up.
If you just really wanted to go nuts with it, that would be a funny way to implement it.
On similar vein of those ideas, I'm thinking maybe it's like after you take 20% of your damage, 20% of your health over a small amount of time, it triggers, and then for like the next 5 seconds, it reflects all damage you take back. So it kind of says, so once people engage on you, they have to stop damaging you and like go after your team, otherwise they killed themselves on you. So it actually encourages something to run on tank.
So you want it to be,
and then it has a cooldown.
Okay, so it's just like a one-time nuke, and then it goes away.
Yeah. So if they try to 100 to 0 you really quick, they're going to take a tremendous amount of damage. But if they go onto you and then kind of spread damage off of you, wait for it to finish, and then go back on you, then they're going to be fine. But it actually it forces them to make decisions based on your actions.
Okay. I mean, I would say that I like the idea of it being smaller chunk damage because that feels more Rocky Helmet in game, but I also totally ignored how leftovers worked in game, so I'm a fucking hypocrite. So whatever you guys, I mean, I think both options are funny in very different ways.
I would just really like a Blade Mail item.
I think that's the takeaway. Ton wants
something
Blade Mail.
better.
Yep. It encourages complex play and more complex decision making. I think that's what makes a game good.
Okay. Time for the minor buff items. And Clayton, I think you said you wanted to do something with Rocky Helmet that was potentially broken and hilarious, right?
I think that's basically what I'm saying.
Okay, so that's what I want to do to Shell Bell.
Please elaborate.
So, Shell Bell having a 10-second cooldown is stupid bullshit. I think that's really arbitrary and boring. I think that a better way to play with Shell Bell is to make it so its trigger is something you can expect and control. Because if you're relying on that 10-second cooldown, a lot of time, like especially when you're entering combat, if you strike first, you've burned your Shell Bell for the fight, and you're not going to get that heal. Because Shell Bell will trigger if you're at full health, and you'll get nothing out of it, but it's back on cooldown.
Which doesn't, scale as well as it's not as synergistic as something like a choice specs, where at the bare minimum, if you burn your choice specs at the beginning of the fight, at least it did what it was supposed to do, which was add to your damage.
Yes.
Right?
I think Shell Bell's healing should be greatly reduced, maybe by a third. Maybe to a third. And I think it should instead trigger every time you use a boosted attack.
A boosted attack specifically, or
yes.
Would it key off of spells?
Every time you use a boosted attack, I think Shell Bell should trigger. I think it should heal less to make up for that, but I think that's when it should trigger. The two
I believe
issues.
Shell Bell does proc on your boosted attack.
No. I think it should proc
Oh,
every boosted attack instead of once every 10 seconds.
Right. Okay.
So the potential problems with this are Garchomp and Decidueye, who build up stacks and then are a boosted attack machine for a while. This would make them a lot tankier. The good side of that is they're not special attackers, they're physical attackers, and Shell Bell's healing scales to special attacks, so they're not going to get... Like, they'll still get something out of it, but they won't get a busted amount out of it. So, what I think this does is this, A, makes Shell Bell more reliable for when you're trying to use it, even if it's not healing you as much. But it also makes Shell Bell a lot more niche pick for potentially Garchomp and Decidueye, but also Aurora Veil Ninetales. And let's be honest, Ninetales kind of needs something going on to bring it back into the game that would do that. It'd work really well with Dive Cramorant, and it'd work very well with Blissey. Because all of them have ways to do a lot of boosted attacks.
Ooh.
So that's what I want to do to Shell Bell. I don't really know why it has cooldown reduction. I might get rid of that, but that's neither here nor there. I want it to proc on boosted attacks and heal less each proc to make up for that. What? Huh?
Oh, did you guys want to modify Shell Bell?
I mean, it just seems like it has a little bit of an identity crisis because it's like cooldown and special attack, which is nice for like attackers, but then it's got that recovery that only triggers when you like enter combat, so it's usually worthless.
No, Shell Bell it's a jack of all trades item.
It feels like you should kind of go one way or the other. So make it like more of like general defensive stats, and then just kind of make it passive recovery as you attack.
To be fair,
not even scaling off of any attack stat. It's just passive recovery off of like all your attacks.
I was about to say that's exactly what I would do to Shell Bell. So you turn it into flat spell lifesteal. Like that is the easiest and fairest way to do Shell Bell, and it's the simplest and most intuitive.
But mine is more funny.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
I mean, so what I like about mine is just that it makes Shell Bell better for certain Pokemon than it is for others. And my problem, like, I mean, Ton, you're right. Like yours is like simpler and more direct, but it's boring and it's universal. So it's either so good that everyone has to run it, or it's not good enough so no one runs it.
If you give it like spell lifesteal of like 15%, just like Gengar, I think that's fair and reasonable. Like if you play Gengar and you have the spell lifesteal, you kind of don't really notice it until someone kind of tells you about it. It's very small, and I think that wouldn't be. It would still be in the spirit of the game where the items are actually like very minor.
I agree with Tom's conception of like make it more which I guess kind of agrees with what Max was saying earlier, which is make it more passive, right? Like just you don't get the heal frequently enough, right? And it needs to increase in frequency in some way, be it keyed to boosted attacks, like Max is suggesting, keyed to just over time, right? As long as you're benefiting from that heal over time more frequently, then it gets better as an item. I think keying it to attacks of some sort makes sense, partly because I think that's more faithful to the original Pokemon games where Shell Bell is based on damage you deal, right? So keying it to boosted attacks or keying it to spells and boosted attacks or whatever means of increasing the frequency of the heal, I think is kind of the step that should be taken to make Shell Bell better.
Okay. Assault Vest? Assault Vest.
Assault Vest.
Huh?
Let's see.
Assault Vest gives you a shield against special attack damage while out of combat.
I don't think about this item a lot. I'm struggling how to like.
I mean, it's Assault Vest.
Why out of combat? Like, it just doesn't make sense.
At least Assault Vest out of combat thing, it's like once you have the shield, you just have the shield. It's not like Leftovers or Floatstone where it's like, oh, I healed like 2% and then it's gone. At least that shield like fucking does something for you.
This is fair.
Hold on to the shield until you lose it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
So,
I mean, that's why it's on the minor buffs list and not the this needs to be over list.
yeah.
Right.
So,
It's kind of hard to make this item work with the same fidelity that it does in the mainline games. I think another reason why you don't see Assault Vest used often is because you can't see what your opponent is running and what they're using. Like, if it was like a traditional MOBA where you can actually see your opponent's pick, then this item makes a great counter pick. Because you don't have that, you're just sort of like left to use more generic items like Body Barrier or something.
So this is my idea, and this is dumb because my major buffs in the earlier items, I feel like my suggestions for buffs for the major buffs items, I feel like were like tinkers and reworks, and I think my Shell Bell was like a massive overhaul, and my Assault Vest is going to be the same thing. I think the shield against special attack damage is bad. I think Ton's right. It'd be a very viable item if you could see your opponent's team. I think what Assault Vest should do instead, and this is really it would be a niche fucking item, but I think Assault Vest should give you damage reduction against opponents' Unite moves.
Be neat.
It would be the reverse Buddy Barrier.
Well, I mean, I have an idea.
Uh-huh.
What if they just took away the special attack requirement here, and then they slap defense on it as well? So you get special defense, and then it's just a generic shield.
I think one reason not to do that is because in the original games, Assault Vest specifically boosts special attack.
Yeah.
So if they're trying to like keep it more similar to that, then keeping it special attack centric makes sense.
It was just
not to say that they couldn't add defense to it, but it should still, in some way, shape, or form, be more of a special attack.
I think that would also just turn it into like a very overlappy focus band. I mean, it'd just be another like, here's a lot of defense. Assault Vest stops you from taking damage early in the fight, then focus band gives you that health back later.
It'd be a proactive focus band or a free Dreadnought shield, basically.
Yeah. I mean, I think the other funny thing it could do, it could like make you like briefly unstoppable whenever you're like hit with a special attack move or something.
That'd be interesting.
But I'm kind of leaning towards the Unite damage guard because that would just like turn Unite. That would like absolutely counterspell Unite stacks, and B, at least like it's usable in every game. But we'll
put us. Yeah, I kind of want to just put Assault Vest aside for now because it just requires too many fundamentals.
Fuck you, Assault Vest. We're on to Chaos Cookie.
Yeah. Oh man, this is easy to boost. Just give it more HP.
Okay,
like, that's what it's for.
There are a couple issues I have with Chaos Cookie.
So now, we don't have to think about it anymore.
Huh?
I said remove it from the game so we don't have to think about it anymore.
What, Assault Vest?
No, Chaos Cookie.
Oh. No, I thought about Chaos Cookie. So, Andrew, you know how Chaos Cookie works, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. I don't think I have a huge issue with the amount of HP it gives. I mean, like, should it really be that much higher, Ton, you think? Not as like a base stat, but as an ability. Do you think it should be giving a lot more HP or what?
HP is really easy to remove. I mean, like, you basically blow up in most teams. I think Pokemon are, in this game specifically, you're actually, like, more generally very squishy because damage output's pretty high.
Mm-hmm.
So it's already kind of an underutilized item. Might as well.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, here's my idea, and this is going to overlap with special attack specs and attack weight. But I think the main thing to look at for me with Chaos Cookie is the actual base stat bonus it gives, less so than the stacking HP, which I mean could go higher. I'm just maybe like change it from 100, 150 to 100, 175, 250. I don't know, but Chaos Cookie gives you like 8 HP per level on that fucking thing. Buddy Barrier gives you 20. Score Shield gives you 15. I don't think, however, that Chaos Cookie should be scaled to give you 600 HP like Buddy Barrier does at level 30, because then, like, what's the point of the ability? You're getting so much HP from just the cookie, and the stacks aren't doing a lot. Which, I mean, as a note, you need, at level 20 with it, you need 3 stacks to negate the starting HP bonus from Buddy Barrier, which is, Ton, you're right, it needs to give more HP with stacks. But what I think it should do is I think the item should give you a little bit, not necessarily more HP, but it should give you more HP per level. But I think Chaos Cookie, Attack Weight, and Special Attack Spec should all give you a scoring time bonus. They should reduce the amount of time it takes you to score a goal. Not saying a lot, maybe like 5 or 7.5% each. But I think that would be something that's very synergistic with how these items work, and would be pretty useful overall in the game. So
yeah, I like that.
That's my Chaos Cookie buff. Is
it would also break Crustle.
Yeah, it would break. I mean, here's the thing, because I like the idea again of making these items that are very good for some Pokemon, and yeah, that would make Chaos Cookie very good for Crustle because he would be getting a lot more HP with his defense stacks. You'd be able to score faster.
And your shield score, you're based on your HP, so it doubly multiplies.
Yeah, it's
already. So, yeah,
it's a fun boy. So that's my Chaos Cookie. If anybody else has a take on Chaos Cookie,
I actually kind of don't like stacking items in general. I feel like they'd be better tuned a different way. But
that's
yeah. I think it'd be more interesting if they stacked off of something other than scoring.
Or if it stacks off of every, like 20 or something, or like 15 points that you score in AOS, then you get 1 stack, right? Because as it is, it's really awkward where you can just take 1 AOS energy and just score, and you get your, something needs to be alleviated from that. I think, it's not overpowered, but it's just awkward flavor-wise, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Here's an idea I have. What if they based it on how many points you're carrying?
Ooh.
So the HP you gained was directly proportional to how much you scored, and it would max out at 100 scores or something.
How much you're currently carrying? Because at late game you can carry up to 50, and in early game you can carry up to 30, right?
Wait. So your idea is Chaos Cookie gives you health based on how much Chaos energy you currently have, not how much you're scoring.
Right.
It encourages hoarding.
that would get weird.
It would be interesting though. I kind of like that.
Because you usually score after fights, so I feel like it'd be useful. You'd get the benefit during fights and things, but then as you score, you're giving up a little bit of your defensive or offensive stats based on them.
Yeah, I'm gonna be real honest. I'm just gonna hold on to for the entire game.
Yeah, I think people just hold on until the end. Honestly.
Oh, that would make games really hilarious, though. Just
it would, but
and then zapping any.
I mean, I do actually, however, like the idea of I don't know. Let's say Chaos Cookie max out at 100 deposits, 100 points deposited, but each point deposited increases your max HP instead.
Yeah.
Instead of it, per dunk or per 10 or something like that, because I think per 10 or 20 is awkward and you can't mentally keep track of that. I mean, you're never going to mentally keep track of have I deposited 50 yet or something like that either.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the point of the bonus cap, the stacks, is it's just easy to know I've dunked 3 times. That's much easier to count than I've scored 27.
It would be easier if they just had an icon with a number. Just be upfront about it.
That's crazy, Ton. Tencent telling us what's up.
It does so for every single buff. Everything that affects you can actually see it. But your stacks of Chaos Cookies, no, you don't. So
yeah. Okay. Any other Chaos Cookie thoughts?
Nope. I want to eat it.
I mean, I was making cookies until we started this, so I just have a tray of Earl Grey dark chocolate chip cookies in the other room calling to me.
Yeah.
Anyway, weakness policy. I don't have an opinion on weakness policy.
Okay, so I actually want my weakness policy to 30. So basically the way you would... Does everybody know how weakness policy works? It's an underutilized item.
You take damage, and it gives you a percentage increase in your attack for up to 4 seconds.
Right. And then when you get hit again, it gets you another stack, but the entire stack decays as one stack. So after 4 seconds, and nothing is hitting you, you actually lose all stacks no matter how many 1, 2, 3, or 4 you... An easy way to fix that is just to make it so that you lose one stack every 4 seconds, so you don't just immediately lose all the work that you've gained. Because right now it kind of feels bullshit that after 4 seconds nothing happens. You basically lose all that damage. I think that would be the easiest and fairest way to fix weakness policy, and would probably bump it up from minor buffs to a fine tier.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
that seems like a good take. I don't really have any other opinion.
Sure. Seems easy.
As it is, it's actually fine. Like the HP buff, maybe a little bit more, but it's fine as is. The attack, that's as much as Muscle Band gives you, plus 15, that's fine. And 30% attack is actually pretty good.
Okay.
Maybe buff before, but we'll leave it.
EXP share. Gives HP, gives speed, increases your passive EXP gain while you're furthest behind, and nearest teammates gain slightly more XP when they kill something.
Yeah, I hate this item specifically just because so many people misread the fact that you have to be the lowest XP on the team.
I can't think of a good buff for EXP share, and I was honestly surprised that so many people thought it needed a buff. I mean, I'll admit, when I run it, I don't notice a lot out of it. I prefer running Wise Glasses on Eldegoss to EXP share.
Experience is also really hard to crack. It's kind of one of those concepts in the game that'll under-research, especially according to the math cord. So.
And giving base speed is just fucking weird on this thing.
I think it's meant so that you're like the small support that's just on the sidelines, moving around and not last hitting, giving it to your allies, and then helping you move in the direction of your ally last hitting, so you actually get the proc from the XP share. So the speed, I think, makes a lot of sense.
I mean, I think the one thing that EXP share would probably need is something that makes it useful when you're not furthest behind. That just makes it like an incentivized play item.
Like giving so instead of it just being for you, it gives the lowest person on your team the passive bonus.
I don't think it should do that either. I think it needs something that like helps it synergize with group play more.
Something that I would personally really love, and I guess this basically make EXP share work more like the mainline games. Make it a flat EXP for every kill that your team makes, and make it very small. Like that actually would work pretty well. And it would lessen the amount of times this item is abused for like the wrong reasons, like on a jungler. And it makes it a lot more intuitive. I like that way. And also, so I'm the kind of person in pretty much most games, I don't like farming. I don't play games just to auto-attack creeps, right? I like being able to go in and interact with people so that way it's a contest to me. And so that EXP share on a Pokemon that's about roaming and killing would actually be a lot of fun, right? Like I can see myself using that on like Talonflame where I don't have to worry about
so you
farming.
I mean, I feel like that's an entirely different item, but one that makes it so every time you get a kill, everyone else in your party gets some EXP.
Or every time, so the way EXP share is supposed to work is when your Pokemon is equipped with the XP share, whenever your ally Pokemon kills something, right, then you get the XP, right? So you're basically a sponge for like excess, breadcrumbs of XP. An easy way to implement this in this game would be every time your allies kill a Pokemon or kill an enemy, right, they funnel a little bit of extra XP to you no matter where you are on the map. Or if you're, near them. And I think that would actually be a great way to utilize the XP share.
Okay, so instead of it being something to allow you to keep up with everyone, it's something that allows you to take the lead over everyone.
It wouldn't even let you take the lead over everyone. You can actually just go ahead and change your role altogether. But yeah, I guess it would keep you fairly in the lead. Of course, you can just scale that.
I mean,
right?
it could just cap out, so you're never the highest.
Yeah, or like, it depends on your level. Like the higher level you go, the less XP you get. So relative to your team, or if you're like the highest number in your team, you get exponentially lower XP, right? So there's many ways to balance it. But I just want an item that lets you go around and basically not have to worry about farm, and you're just constantly engaged with the enemy, constantly engaged in a team fight.
Yeah. Okay. Any other takes on EXP share?
Nope.
About how it works. Haven't really used it, so I don't feel as confident.
Yeah, I don't even think I've ran it with you, Clayton.
Nope.
Anyway, also you got quieter.
Sorry, I'm just getting a little tired now. Is all.
That's fair. This ran longer than I anticipated. Thank you all for being here. You absolute fools. Energy Amplifier.
I think this item's actually reasonable. Like, it's a pretty fair and balanced item.
Honestly, I think you just increase the Clayton, Andrew, because I don't think you guys have run Energy Amplifier much. It gives you a cooldown reduction on your charge moves. It lets you use your Unite move more often, and it increases your damage for a short time during your Unite move.
I used it on Charizard before they changed his Unite move.
Oh, okay. Then you're familiar with it. As a 4-second duration, I think...
Just make it longer, yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, just increase Energy Amplifier to 6 seconds, and I think we're fine.
Yeah, it lets you use it on Cramorant even better.
Oh, so what? No, that wouldn't be at all why I'd want to boost it. Heaven forbid.
I think right now, what is it? You get like the first 5 or something, plus or minus 1 fish that are actually boosted, and then the rest are wasted.
Yeah, it's bullshit. So yeah, just increase Energy Amplifier's duration. I don't know why it has a 14-second cooldown. How often are you ulting that quickly? But...
If you kill like 2 waves of bees and the enemy team, yeah, I guess.
And then dunk in 14 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay, so because all the fine items are just fine, are there any that you all think we should talk about?
Nope.
They're all fine. I mean...
Yep. They're all fine. Nothing to see here.
Wise Glasses is boring, but that's
That's what it's for.
Yeah, that's what
they might be boring, but they do their role well.
Okay.
It is wise, and just it's like eating your spinach. It's a good idea, even if it's not exciting.
And I mean, it really like Popeye's Eldegoss's damage.
It does.
Chef's kiss. Muscle Band. We're in the sci-fine category. These are items that are over-centralizing in the meta.
I mean, I take it on anything I'm right-clicking on. So, yeah.
Should
maybe drop the attack speed.
No, that doesn't do a lot.
Yeah, so this is the weird thing about Muscle Band. Because attack speed works so awkwardly in the game, I feel like it would just need a rework on attack speed itself.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think the attack speed itself needs to be reworked. I think Muscle Band should be reduced from 1, 2, 3 to 1, 1.5, 2.
Yeah.
Or 1, 1.75, 2.5. I don't think it should be... I mean, this is a sci-fine. I ultimately think all of the items in fine tier should receive minor nerfs.
If they change anything, small numerical changes, because the item is popular and is working fine.
Yeah, which, I mean, the problem becomes the item is overly popular and working too well.
Yeah. It works on any Pokemon. It's not significant enough to warp the game, but because every Pokemon can auto-attack, and the proc damage doesn't depend on your stat, you basically get it.
Which is why I think the additional damage should be reduced slightly. But it's kind of that and, a rework of attack speed. Score Shield.
I would want to reduce the amounts of shielding. Well, actually, no, it's already low.
I think it should. Okay, so Clayton, Andrew, in case you guys were unaware, so Score Shield, it gives you a shield when you're trying to score a goal.
Yep.
Scoring cannot be interrupted while the shield remains active. This stacks with any other shield you have. So if you have a Buddy Barrier shield, that's added to the Score shield. Blah, 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 blah. Score shield's brokenness mostly comes from that.
So maybe make it replace any existing shield you have when it activates?
Or you have Score shield gets taken away first. And once it's taken away, then you can be interrupted.
I don't even know if I'd go that far. I think I would just dramatically increase its cooldown. I think 6-second cooldown is dumb. Just give it 30. Like, oh, you couldn't score, fuck off.
You know, I kind of have a radical idea here.
Uh-huh.
I say get rid of the Score shield and work its functionality into the actual, like, turn-in items.
I mean, I'm admittedly not against... no, I think... I have strongly considered just what if there was no Score shield and that was just an innate thing everyone had, and I was like, that's actually a terrible idea. Was my conclusion. I think it should just have a longer cooldown. I think that would deal with most of its problems, because right now you can try, fail, kill an Audino, go back, try again. That's
yeah.
You literally try to score, they interrupt you, you run in a couple circles, and then you try again. Like, that's kind of silly.
You can make it proportional to the number of points you have. I think that would actually make it interesting.
Make what, the shield size, or?
Yeah, so right now, the reason why Score Shield is kind of broken and why it's usable, it's because if you have like 1 point, right, you score very, very fast, and you can get one of your item stacks or one of those stacks, and you get the heal, which, you know, is a flat 25% no matter how much you score.
Yes.
So the pro strategy is just, you steal their APOM, score, you pick up one AOS, and if you go back, you score. It's just, and you can't be interrupted because you get your shield refreshed every single time.
Yes.
So if you make it proportional to the amount that you have to score, then you can't get away with these, micro scoring abuses anymore.
Or again, you just reduce the cooldown, or you increase the cooldown so people can't abuse it in that way.
Yeah, you can basically use it for both.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like the proportionality, because then you can just get like these fat shields when you're trying to dunk 50, and I think that should still be too risky. That should still be risky.
Yeah, but that shield should be like, if you have a full 50, that should be like 12% max HP.
That's
right?
Fair. I don't know. I'm just...
And you scale off of that.
That's fair. So either A, longer cooldown, or B, scaling shield with energy held.
Yeah.
Okay. Clayton, Andrew, got takes? Nope. Okay. Focus band. Do you think focus band should be changed in any way? If so, how?
Let's see.
I mean,
I thought this item was reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at. I don't think...
Yeah, seems fine to me.
I think the problem is if you actually reduced its healing like at all, it would become borderline unusable.
Yeah, like that's what I notice about it when I use it on Machamp, right? It has bailed me out of a tough situation a few times where I've been able to like duck out of combat for a little bit, get that heal, and then go back in and cross chop somebody one more time, right? Which is very useful. But there's also been situations where I haven't been able to escape like that, and the heal typically won't like out heal damage you're taking.
Yeah, if you're getting dove on, you're still fucked.
You're still dead, right? So it's not gonna it's gonna save you if you can duck out of combat for a little bit, but not otherwise. So I feel like it's not overpowering in that sense.
And its cooldown is infrequent enough that I don't think that should really be messed with either.
Yeah, like maybe trim a little bit of the defense off or something. But like, if you absolutely had to nerf it, but I don't think it needs it, honestly.
Yeah, it's okay. Fucking Buddy Barrier, we're back. We went 40 minutes without talking about it, but we're here again.
We already know what would do to it.
Huh?
I think we already talked about it enough. And how to nerf it.
Well, here's the thing. There are two general schools of thought in nerfing Buddy Barrier. There's the school of thought that Buddy Barrier should not give you a shield and only your ally a shield. You know, a literal buddy's barrier for your buddy. Or the shields it gives should be reduced. I'm of the school of thought that the shields it gives should be reduced. I think it should be 15, 22.5, 30 instead of 20, 30, 40.
Yeah. 40% is insane.
It is.
Like, holy shit.
It
The
just...
fact that it gets 600 fucking HP, like, wow.
Yeah. I think it should be reduced. And, I mean, I think it would be bad to replace Buddy Bear's HP gain with, like, a Unite move charge rate. Like Energy Amplifier has, like, that feels like a bad idea. But
maybe reduce the HP a little bit.
We could switch it so Buddy Barrier instead of HP gives defenses, and then Focus Band gives HP instead of defenses. Like,
situational, yeah. I actually do like that idea of making it so that it really is support items, so that only your ally can get the shield, and if you're alone, you get the shield.
So you think it should be for a friend if a friend is available, and if not, you?
Yep.
Okay. Clayton, Andrew, do you think Buddy Bear should give less of a shield or a friend-only shield?
I vote less of a shield.
Okay.
It depends on what you want to do with it, right? Like, those two methods of nerfing it accomplish very different things.
Yes.
Right. One of them is if you want to keep Buddy Barrier as a generally useful item, right, that has a lot of flexibility in the sense that, like, oh, that shield for yourself can be very useful in a certain situation. The shield for your allies is useful. The passive health bonus is useful, right? That poor usage style doesn't change if you just reduce the shield. It just means that it's not quite as good at it, right? That's if you compare that to, like, making it so it doesn't give yourself a shield, that suddenly makes it significantly less useful for one of those three use cases that I just mentioned.
Yeah.
Right?
And
Which
I mean,
it's more useful for, like, more supporty.
That's the thing. So within, if Buddy Barrier were introduced initially as an item that only gave a shield to your friend, that's fine. I can see Pokemon where Buddy Barrier giving a shield to only your friend is good, like Eldegoss or Blissey or something like that. I think that given, you know, speaking from like oh no, we can't change things that people like over-invested in too much and make them worse perspective. I think that like Tencent would get a lot of angry letters by making it a friend-only shield. Because of that, I think it makes more sense to nerf the size of the shield instead.
Yeah. I do like that it gives it to the weakest or the lowest HP Pokemon that's nearby. I think that's pretty reasonable.
So it's lowest HP that could be you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and you can give it to yourself as well.
I mean, I think if that were the case, the shield would actually probably have to be a little bigger. Like 25, 40, 55 or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Like that is something I kind of would like to keep on it. Just because I like that kind of egalitarian, very, you know, helping the little guy kind of mechanic.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if it helps you and the little guy if you just reduce the shield.
Or if it's higher on the person you help, but very small for you. Like, that would be a way to satisfy, you know,
that does seem
at once.
Okay. Yeah, honestly, that's probably better. So it would just nerf the shield you get, but not the shield your ally gets.
Yeah.
Okay, so your shield would go down.
It maintains it would maintain its support status to help allies. So invests in team play, which is what I would like more of. I think that's a good thing, and it makes the game more interactive. It's just like, the fact that it gives you a big shield, that reducing that I think would be pretty reasonable.
Okay, I understand. You just want to nerf Cramorant. You absolute piece of shit.
Just have good allies.
No, he's Cramorant. You just dive on him and he dies. Why would you do this to my boy?
Ask friends to commit suicide with you.
You just need to use your Charizard Unite so I can use my Unite and not die. That's all I'm asking for. Anyway, I think we've done a sufficiently exhaustive dive into data on items in Pokemon Unite. Does anybody have any takeaways?
Pokemon Unite's fun.
Yeah. I like the fact that the items aren't like devastatingly like super effective. Like in terms of actual items, okay, again, speaking from perspective of someone who's used to Dota, where the items are like bonkers.
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that you can still get away with like just playing the game as is, even if you have like very few items. So
yeah. So as a note, real quick, because I didn't actually go over this, 50% of people thought leftover. As a note, with the buff and nerf question, people had to select 3 items. So 50% thought leftover should be buffed, 48% floatstone, 35% rocky helmet. For nerf, 68% thought buddy barrier needed a nerf, 49 on score shield, 44 on focus band. So those were the standouts there. I do want to know, however, the 2.5% who think buddy barrier needs a buff, and the 4% who think leftovers is too good.
Put them in a room together.
Yeah. The fact that more people thought choice specs needed a buff, more people thought buddy barrier needed a buff to choice specs is just hilarious to me. But yeah, so that's the data for usage. I mean, circling back, buddy barrier, 64.5% of people use buddy barrier. 50% use focus band, 47% use muscle band, 42% use score shield. It's data we saw. It's pretty clear. Scope Lens and Razor Claw and Choice Specs and Wise Glasses all have decent showings between 10 and 20-ish%. And then everything else is pretty fucking niche. And that's all of our data. Well, it's a lie. I have a lot more data. We're just not going to talk about it because, see, how many more tabs do I have? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more Excel spreadsheet pages of data.
That sounds like a good topic for another episode.
It is not item related, so we are fucking done. So, this was still probably less time consuming than writing this all up in a Reddit post. So thanks, guys. Have a good night. And remember, if you were watching this, Gen 5 isn't Pokemon. Snake from Metal Gear Solid is the best at Anime Survivor, and it drives me goddamn insane. And stop. Whoever's using fucking leftovers, just stop fucking doing it. Please.
Also, just thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah, thanks for watching.
Goodbye forever.
Have a good day.
Cheers.
Cheers.